We're here at Create this week and recording some very special podcasts for Nation's Restaurant News. We're going to be interviewing 8 different executives from restaurants and also from the investor community to explore different themes from each of the chapters of the path to digital maturity.
We're so excited to have you on our digital restaurant podcast. We are going to talk a little bit about the Homestate brand and what you've been doing in particular with third parties. Homestate, of course, I'm just going to introduce it briefly, a super successful chain in Los Angeles that has about 6 restaurants named for the reference back to the home state of Texas and the hospitality there. So we want to talk a little bit with you about what you've learned from your background, which is a bit more operational.
Yes.
About how to do that really, really well.
Great. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we kick off the path to digital maturity talking about being found as the really, really important part, of course, of being a great digital restaurant. So one of the things that we were super excited about is when we were doing our research, we looked on DoorDash and we thought, right, let's see how long it's going to take to find your restaurant.
Find a homestay
super quick, which of course is like the number one thing you can wish for. And so that doesn't just happen by accident. And so help us understand, how do you get on the front page? How do you fit above the fold? How do you appear on the carousels? What have you guys done that has enabled you to be found as well as you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest things that we did that really changed our performance on DoorDash particularly was we went exclusive with them. They give a lot of priority to their exclusive partnerships. Well, as one of the things we really focused on was their most loved campaign, which is all about user feedback. How many thumbs up are you getting? How many likes are you getting? What do your reviews look like? How many missed orders, missed deliveries? They take all of that into account. And we perform really well on Most Loved. It's really incredible every time I open it and I'm looking for something, maybe not Homestate myself, but as a DoorDash user myself, every time I pop up on there and see Homestate at the top, it's super exciting.
I love that because I think we all tend to think of being found in a digital sense as some sort of digital marketing trick. But what you're saying is, no, it's operational excellence. And when you do well and you treat your consumer well and your consumer is happy, then the net result of that is that the algorithms reward you.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big things that we focus on particularly is our driver engagement. So within the restaurants, we do something the first Thursday of every month. We reward all the drivers that come and visit us that day. So we give them a cookie or a coffee or one of our non-alcoholic beverages that they can take with them throughout their day. And it's really unique to see how much our team engages with those drivers, become familiar. And we have a lot of drivers who pick up multiple orders within an hour from us, and so our team gets to know them, and they get to build community and relationship with these people. And we look at DoorDash as someone who's on our team. So they're going to a guest house for us outside of our walls. So if we know that they leave our space really happy, they're going to be happy when they get to that guest as well, and it'll continue.
I love that. As part of research for the first book, many of our regular listeners will know that I did a bit of dashing myself, and I always felt there was an opportunity for restaurants to treat the folks that are delivering the order, to treat them with that level of hospitality. Now, you did talk a bit about there on exclusivity.
Yes.
And your restaurants, apart from the one in North San Diego, are largely located in LA. But was it a difficult decision?
It was a challenging decision. You know, it was quite interesting when we were talking about this, that we were actually leading to the potential decision to remove third party from our brand completely.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because of a lot of the challenges that came with managing the multiple platforms, the integrations that it takes for all of your systems to speak to each other, or the manpower that it takes to take third party orders and put them into your systems, provide for them. And so we found it really being a pinch point because we're a very high volume restaurant. And part of what we were challenged with was that these third parties, they opened originally and with the idea that, hey, we're going to give you extra sales during those slow moments that you need, that you already have staff for. And that wasn't the case for us. We were starting to see ourselves adding team members to handle these increased sales volumes. And we were like, okay, well now the algorithm that originally was there isn't working for us quite the same, because now we're bringing in team members, adding labor, adding all of these extra pieces to it that we didn't have before. And so as the DoorDash third-party scene really started to shift to be something that was almost required as a business, rather than being something that was just there to help support your slow moments, we started to look at what ways would make that really impactful. And so the exclusivity piece of it was where we landed through about a year's worth of conversations with all the big third-party chains at the time. And we really enjoyed the people that we were working with at DoorDash. It was interesting because they were all offering the same essential package, reduced costs to your percentage fees that they charge, more partnership, more marketing, all these pieces of it. But it was really who we were working with. And the DoorDash team specifically that we had on our account were just incredible and really won us over. And it's been a great partnership since we launched.
That's awesome. And it sounds like there's, as you go through that list, a number of benefits to going exclusive, some of which are things like reduced commissions, some of which are marketing dollars that they're spending on your behalf, either on platform or off, but many of which it sounds like are operational, like getting to know the drivers that are coming in routinely, truly a partnership with them, having less fragmentation across platforms and channels for orders to come in.
Yeah.
And as you reflect now on the decision, because it's been that way for a while, right?
Yeah, it's been about 3 years.
Yeah.
We've been exclusive.
As you reflect on that decision, where do you think the biggest benefits have come?
Truly the biggest benefits has just been more control, more data. We have monthly regular meetings with the DoorDash team, and they share all of their data with us. They're a phone call away anytime that we need them. I jumped on the phone 2 days ago with my DoorDash team, and I was like, hey, we're experiencing some difficulty with 2 of our locations that are too close to each other, and we feel the radiuses are overlapping too much. So let's pull some heat maps and find out really where those guests are coming from. And it turned out that they were coming from 2 completely different areas. So this big overlap that we have wasn't as much of a concern as what we thought based on just their geographic locations, but really allowing us to, okay, well, let's keep pushing this then if we truly are getting separate heat maps from their geographical spaces. So it's incredible the amount of transparency that they've even had with us in terms of our ROIs and marketing spends and what success we're seeing and whatnot, and how to be creative. We're a young team. We don't have a big group of people analyzing our data constantly. To have a team like DoorDash who have experts on their team who are looking at all of these things, and we can come in and say, okay, how is this fitting our brand? How is this impacting us operationally? But have that access to data has been incredible.
One of the things that I think is particularly tough for restaurants today that are exploring their opportunities on third parties is really about how to determine which tier to be on. So you guys have chosen to be on a tier which allows you to have access to DashPass subscribers.
Yes.
Now, we know from what we've spoken to others about that certainly gives you opportunities to not only just more customers, but customers that tend to spend more as well and more frequently. Is that been your experience? And is that part of the reason why you went to that tier?
Yeah, that's absolutely been part of our experience. The DashPass group definitely spends more, but they're more engaged on DoorDash. So that's kind of what you expect. But with DoorDash, they have particularly been pushing that as what their new model looks like. So it's a high subscription format, but they're giving it away everywhere. So if you go sign up for a new credit card with Chase, you get a year's worth of DashPass. They're giving it out as much as they can because they know that for them, that's super impactful. Now we pay higher commissions for a DashPass guest versus a standard guest. It's the highest cost for DoorDash. So there's part of that negotiation and agreement in that exclusivity of, okay, where are we going to really find what that mix looks like to be healthy for everybody? But we also know that that's where the industry for, I believe even Uber just announced their subscription based. We know that's kind of where they're heading. And with such a large percentage of the users of DoorDash being DashPass users, that's all they're looking for. They're only looking at the DashPass partner restaurants, and they're not going to go look for the mom and pop shops as much that are just on the standard agreements.
Yeah.
And they're less visible.
Now, Los Angeles has a reputation for being a Postmates city and therefore being an Uber city now after the acquisition. So that must have made the decision all the more, gosh, do we want to go with DoorDash or do we want to go with Uber, given that we're in LA and LA has historically been a Postmates city. Were you guys able to look at the data around your actual restaurants to see how folks were ordering from DoorDash versus from Uber?
Yeah, absolutely. We were, at the time, we were about 50-50. Half of our users were coming from Postmates, Uber at the time, they had just merged, and the other half were the DoorDash Caviar. Those two had just merged at the time. So we saw about half and half, but what we were really paying attention to was who was growing. And at that time, DoorDash was really taking off. They were investing a lot into their growth, going after more of the market, and we were watching their market share grow where we were watching Uber's start to decrease. So we knew we wanted to be with the group who was growing, who was going after a different market share.
I love it. I love it. We also notice when we look through DoorDash at the Homestate brand, some of the photos have wooden backgrounds, some of them have a blue background. We know that photography is super important. Is that something that you all A/B test and see which thing pops more, which thing draws consumers in, or is that based on the item itself? How do you think about what makes great photography and how to figure that out?
Yeah, it's a great point. So we want every representation of Homestate to feel like Homestate. And so we wanted familiarity. We wanted it to feel like if you went to our website and you ordered from us, it would be the same photography that you're finding, the same menu descriptions, the same format, the same layout, so that the Homestate brand actually shines on a platform where everyone else also is
Trying to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's really been our filter for photography, even from the marketing side of it, is that everything just has to feel like you walked into a Homestate, because that's all the experience you're getting through a delivery with DoorDash is you get those photos and you get that driver who comes to your door with the packed bag. So you have such few moments for it to really have the feeling of what we're trying to create, and that's one of them.
Makes sense.
About consistency with photography, because there are some which you get great photos and the food's in the right kind of angle and the right proximity, but there are also different ways in which the consistency is sometimes quite different. Any views around that with photos?
Yeah, we tend to take our like subsections of our menus and say, okay, they all need to be photographed in the exact same way. So all of our tacos need to be photographed in the exact same format. And we're going to take those subcategories and then change the backgrounds on them a little bit. So there's some familiarity, but some differing views that call out what those changes really look like. Like a breakfast taco is going to be on a beautiful blue background because it invites you to feel the morning and the bright sky, the sun coming up for the day. And then as you kind of get into your anytime tacos, these are your heavier tacos. They're on a wooden background. So invoking feeling and a lot of that
I love it.
is
I love
the
that.
intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Let's talk about marketing.
Yeah.
Because obviously, yes, you got all those things that we've just talked about, but you still need to advertise and market on these platforms.
Yeah.
So when you look at the levels of investment that you need to place into marketing to be able to stand out and resonate with your guests, especially those ones that perhaps have never heard of your restaurant before, and they need that little bit of promotional mechanic to help them get over the edge. How do you approach it, and what things do you try to test and learn in this space?
Yeah, so the first take we always do is, what does the restaurant need? Does it need AM day parts? Does it need support around the PM? Does it need support around alcohol sales? One of the great changes that we've seen in the last couple of years is the ability to sell to-go alcohol, and we can do that through DoorDash as well. So we always first take a look at, okay, what does it need? How are we going to support that? And then really looking at the volumes of all of our locations. We don't want the experience of a guest going into the restaurant to be dominated with drivers and takeout experience. And so in some of our really busy locations, like our original location on Hollywood Boulevard, our Highland Park location, which is our second location, they're much higher volumes than our other locations, some of our newer locations. So we don't focus on marketing those at all. We take hands off completely, pay attention to the photos, make sure that it's operating well, but we don't put any dollars into advertising for those. Where we do really focus on is redefining what those lines look like, our Hollywood location was one of those two close geographic locations that I was talking about, with a location that's brand new in Atwater Village and has very low DoorDash sales. So part of our conversations with DoorDash, okay, how do we use the advertising at the Atwater location to maybe reduce some of the burden that the Hollywood location's feeling with those takeout orders, so that that guest experience when they're in-house can also improve and become much more focused on the hospitality rather than just packing bags.
So you're really thinking about those restaurant locations almost as a fulfillment network to that DoorDash layer.
Yes.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because, just like in pizza delivery, you're going to have different polygons around those restaurants, and you can adjust them based on sales volume and peakiness and all kinds of things.
Yeah, it's also geographic for the city. We know that DoorDash performs better on the west side of Los Angeles, and the further east you go, the worse it performs. So a location on the west side may not need as much support because it's going to naturally get a lot of those through the DoorDash algorithms, through those most loved opportunities, through that exclusivity piece of it, where somewhere in like Pasadena is not going to get nearly the same engagement, and it's going to take a lot more to go after that guest who doesn't know us.
Come on, Pasadena, seriously.
I know.
What's going on?
I know.
So then when you make changes like that, let's say to the trade radius to try to push sales to a slower delivery store, are those choices dynamic, meaning that they're changing constantly depending on day part or day of week or things like that? Or are they static? You set them with DoorDash and then you review them periodically?
Yeah, so they're pretty set. So we don't change them super frequently. It really takes us going into a deep dive with them in one of our monthly meetings and saying, okay, this is where maybe pulling up a heat map and saying, okay, we're watching this change a little bit, or there's too much overlap between these two locations. They're one too that they don't particularly like to manually draw out these things. They have found that over time, a lot of these things actually sort themselves out. Someone who maybe falls within that geographic range that overlaps between two locations is going to realize that one location is going to always be faster for you than maybe the other is.
Consumers are not dumb. They're quite savvy.
Yeah, and that's the beauty too of fast turnaround times for us. I mean, our ticket times are relatively low. Most of the time, we can put an order out in 5-10 minutes.
Oh wow!
So, very fast operation. Now, when you get really busy, that can drastically change really fast, and particularly for online ordering. So moving those around to the locations that make the most sense is really important for us to keep the whole world of home state moving at the same time and not overburdening any individual.
You talk about savvy customers. There are some savvy customers out there that love to take advantage of the chargeback situations, of course.
Yes.
Help us understand about, we all know they suck, but it's a real problem for you guys. You might have a number of items in a basket that's been ordered, and perhaps the drink has been forgotten or misplaced, but you get charged for everything. How do you handle this?
Yeah, this is a challenging conundrum because while it's the same with DoorDash, it's also your standard credit card processing. You deal with this with the banks pretty regularly, but particularly with DoorDash. For us today, it's still a very manual process of every time we get one of those chargebacks, and as we grow, those grow, going in and doing small audits of them. Did it get packed? I'm actually very excited to be here at this conference to talk to some of these people, but we're watching AI really change a lot of that, because I find it to really be a problem that DoorDash is going to have to go after and figure out much more of a solution than the individual restaurants, because a bigger chain may have a lot of resources to throw at recovering some things like that, but where you don't have that ability is in a small mom and pop shop. When we were one or two locations, that was me logging in every day and checking to see, okay, how many of these chargebacks did we get? And I personally packed 80% of those chargebacks. I'm like, I know that taco was in there.
Yeah.
But people take advantage of those situations. And ultimately with DoorDash, they tend to take the idea that, okay, if a consumer communicates that something was missing, we're just going to accept it, no questions asked, we're going to charge the restaurant, without the restaurants actually going in and monitoring, watching, fighting them within a certain amount of time. It kind of just out of luck when it comes to winning a lot of these things. And sometimes even DoorDash doesn't even, they're dealing with such a large scale that they're not even fighting the restaurant. So sometimes they'll just look the other way and be like, great, we'll send it back to you, because for them it's less resources to just eat the cost of it than it is to go fight either side. So I think that's where AI is really starting to take advantage of it, is the automation of flagging these things for more review. And we've seen that in different manners. We looked at a company last year that actually takes cameras and puts it over your packing stations and tags it to every order. So anytime you get a dispute in any format, they go and recover that video. They watch that video of it being packed all together and say, oh, that you did miss that, or no, you didn't miss that. Let's make sure that we fight this one correctly.
What was the name of the technology? Do you remember?
I don't remember the actual.
If you recall it, let us know. We'll tell folks on a future edition.
Perfect.
Landon, I think that's a great one to finish on with a good tip and hint. But thank you for being with us here today. Really appreciate it. Good luck to you and the rest of the Home State team. It's an exciting future ahead, it seems.
Thanks so much. It was great to talk with you both.
The Digital Restaurant Podcast is available for you to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Watch us, rate us, and subscribe to The Digital Restaurant on YouTube, and follow along on all our social media digital restaurant channels. Thanks for listening.